Since there's nobody else in the meeting from a client standpoint, we might as well record it, and then I can use it for, um, marketing.
Yeah. Well, I've started the recording, so
Okay.
yeah. Right. So should I just make a start then?
Sure. Yeah. Please.
Okay. So the folder that I sent over the other day was just a little example I put together because, as you know, we've got that SAP example file, but it's taken from the SAP test system, which firstly means we can't share it with anyone really because it's actually a communal test system, so it's got other people's data in it as well. And the other problem is that because it's a communal test system, the data in there is basically a bit of a mess, so it is difficult to find stuff that actually kind of works. So I put together this sort of little file that contains just little bits of sample data that should make it easy to kind of demonstrate at least the principles of how the whole thing works. So really, you can build an RCM cost project pretty quickly from this file. There'll be two files in there, SAP example, and the other one's called something like SAP example complete. So what you can do is pretty much just select everything and say, okay, first of all, we transfer the master data. So the blue buttons, that's a lot like the old portal was. We do that, and so that's going to take the hierarchy. It will also take the catalog profiles. So the catalog profiles will make up the causes for the equipments. I mean, do you know, Joe, how a catalog profile works? You're okay with that?
Can you explain that one to me?
Yeah.
It doesn't. I don't think I've been familiar with that one.
So there are catalogs, catalog profiles, catalog codes. So a catalog, let's see which way around it goes. So the catalog profile is basically a list of all the properties of a particular type of equipment. So, for example, a catalog profile for a pump might contain a list of its causes, its parts, and various other things. So the catalog is basically a type of what was the word I just used? Sorry, I got it very early this morning. The catalog basically represents a type of property, one of which is causes. Others, as I say, include like parts and I think damage and so on. Then the catalog profile is the set of catalog codes that are associated with that particular cause. So here, for example, I've got a catalog, which is causes, and then I've got a catalog profile, which is material, which is then associated with a particular type of equipment. So this equipment has this catalog profile, and within that catalog profile are all of its properties, in this case, a list of the associated causes. So hopefully that was sufficiently coherent that you were able to...
I think so, okay.
Yeah.
So just to make sure I understand. So the technical objects would correspond like the locations in RCM.
Yes.
The equipment. And so then, but that technical objects list is not going to include the failure modes, right? So
that's right.
Causes. So that's accounted for in the catalogs?
That's right. So it's...
Right, so each technical object, or the equipment, I suppose, in the technical objects is associated with the catalog, and that's where it picks up that's where RCM cost will pick up the causes of a, okay.
Yeah.
Is that basically it? Basically,
the program will create a location representing this equipment. It knows this equipment, if I open it up, is attached to catalog profile 1000.
Oh, okay, so we can see that in the portal. You can see the catalog that it's...
Yeah. So,
attached to. Oh, okay.
so that's attached to catalog profile 1000, which is this one here for a motor.
Okay.
And then that motor is attached to a catalog code group, which is this guy here.
Okay, so it goes through the catalog profiles to the catalogs. There's
Yeah.
like
So,
2 steps there. Okay.
yeah, so what you'll see is, if it was like a big SAP system, what you might see is several things here. You might see catalog 1, 2, 3, then you'll see like A, B, C, and next to each of those will be a code group. The catalog represents the type of property that you're looking at, and then the code group represents the list of that type of property that this catalog profile is attached to. So in this case, 1000 has a catalog number 5, so this catalog profile has some causes associated with it, and then those causes can be found in catalog code group 2, PM02. So that's basically the route by which these failure causes are attached to this equipment. So it's nice and simple, just like everything in SAP.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically, I guess the route is equipment to catalog profile to catalog to catalog code group.
Right. And those will have the causes that RCM cost.
Yeah. And I've already built that master data just now. So if I go back to RCM cost, you'll see you've got that. And that has, what have I, oh, sorry, yeah. So I've built,
check it?
Yeah, so I've built the technical objects, locations. The little icon it's using for this guy, it's still, you know, a location. It's just, it's got an equipment type,
right.
A location equipment type, yeah. So then I go back and I can select everything again, and this time I'll click Build Causes.
Oh, so it's 2 steps, one to get the location hierarchy and then another to get the causes.
Yeah, that's right. So it's these two. And then if you go back, you'll see the program creates the causes. It will automatically create a function and a functional failure. They'll just be dummies because there's no information for that in SAP. So we just create 2 of those automatically.
Sure.
But you'll see there.
Fill it out if they want, right?
Yeah, they can come in here then and change whatever they want. Because I think when they go back to SAP, the program will basically just ignore these, and it will know these guys here, by whatever route, are attached to this guy here.
Right.
You'll see also that when I've downloaded the master data, it's also brought across the effects, materials, labor, builds of materials, and so on.
Just grabs whatever it can from SAP, right?
Yeah.
Whatever makes sense.
That's right.
So what if the user modifies the project in RCM cost? Like, so what if they added another function and functional failure with other causes? Would those come back into the SAP portal if they upload back?
So you can do that. So if I say, forget that, and I just say copy and paste and create those.
Right.
So I will then say go back to SAP and build master data in the portal. So that's created another.
Oh, it does add it, so you can add data from. Oh, and it knows it's the same catalog profile, right?
It knows it's the same catalog profile. The catalog profile is attached to this equipment type that it creates. So that's always the same one. But it will create a new code group to represent those causes.
Sure. Okay. So you can create new stuff in RCM.
You can. So you can create new technical objects, new catalog code groups, new catalog profiles and effects. The majority of this stuff can be transferred across. We can't upload spares. We can't upload. I don't think we can upload new labor. Effects, I think we can, but let's say there are certain things we don't upload. But the key stuff, technical objects, catalogs, maintenance plans, all that stuff, of course, can be uploaded.
Okay.
So the last thing, of course, well, not the last thing, but the next thing anyway, is maintenance plan. and I can use this third button. It's basically just these three buttons across the top. What you can basically do is just click here, then click, 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 and that basically does the majority of the job for you.
So how does it get? Well, how does it build the tasks? What's it using from that? Is it the maintenance plans?
Yeah. So the maintenance plan. Well, the maintenance plan header, which is basically this thing here, that the top is what forms the task group in Availability Workbench and RCM cost.
Okay.
So then...
Oh, and it lists under the functional location, it lists all the... So that'll maybe... That's how it figures out what causes it applies to?
That's where it gets a bit tricky, because what will happen is SAP doesn't really say what cause attaches to what task. So there are two options that you have. One is basically to use this button, and that will look and say, okay, this maintenance plan is associated with this equipment. I'm going to attach all the tasks from this plan to all the causes in that equipment.
Okay. So every single cause that piece of equipment has would get that same maintenance task? That's
right. So that's going to come from the task list, which is another thing attached to the maintenance plan. You'll find that on the item tab. You can edit and check out the operations, and I guess depending on the way you've done some of the maintenance plan settings, basically each operation will become a task in AWB, and you can see there the duration. The work is just related to the labor categories that are attached to it.
Is it like the active time for the labor?
Exactly, yeah. So this will actually be, so if you download a task group from Availability Workbench to the SAP portal, the portal will automatically work out the work hours from the labor that you've attached to your tasks. So the program will do that.
So is there a way then to, when you're applying the tasks, have it figure out which tasks go with which causes, or will it just always globally apply?
Not automatically. If you go to RCM build, you'll see there's an option to do it with forms. If you choose that one, you can then start, saying, okay, I want to attach stuff to material fatigue, and then it will just attach the tasks to that. So let's go over and see if it's actually done that. Yeah, no. So I think, let's see, what have I done wrong there? So I go to build RCM. Oh, sorry, that's build RCM cost causes with forms. Where is it? So build RCM cost tasks, and it will do it automatically. There's an option to do this with forms as well, and I've lost where we keep that. But yeah, if you do it automatically, then of course that's just going to create.
So well, every one of those causes will not have those two planned tasks attached.
Yeah. So you can see that if I highlight higher up here.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Let me go back and just make sure that, because it will be here somewhere, and I've forgotten where it is. So build master data causes, build RCM cost tasks. I don't think we're taking it out. Let me see if we do it directly through the through here now. So upload plan. So I can build operation. Build RCM cost task. Here we go. This is, sorry, I'm just, yeah, we used to do it through the dialog. So now you go to the task list itself, go to the operation, build RCM task, and then you can choose where you want each task to go. And I guess that
I see. You select the cause and you say, okay.
So I can choose a particular cause and say, okay, download.
Okay, so you can manually say this goes to one particular cause then.
That's right, yeah.
Right, so the button will just do it for all causes, and this way you can just target which particular causes. Okay.
So those are essentially the two options you have when you're building the maintenance plans as task groups in RCM costs. And you'll see that the task group, of course, is here, and that's going to have all the tasks in it. So the last thing, I guess, is the work orders. So if I switch to the way it works in the new portal is that you would go into the grid, into maintenance, and then maintenance orders. And then, of course, this is filtered in the normal way. So, you highlight the thing where the data is. Now, you can see here, I've built this data by hand because the stuff in the example file is such a mess. You'd never be able to create something useful.
Yeah. So
now,
is this in that training course directory?
It is. Yeah. So basically, that training course with the PDF file, what it should do is take you through the process of building the project from SAP, embellishing that project with the bits of data that SAP doesn't contain, to make your RCM cost project a bit more complete, optimizing a task group, and then moving it back to RCM to SAP, but also trying a different task group and sending that to SAP instead. So it's kind of like a little potted example of how you might improve your maintenance strategy by cycling data between SAP and AWB. But yeah, this data here, you can see the category says replacement or failure. So this is going to demonstrate how from the data in SAP, we can build a viable set that contains both failure data points and suspended data points. Now this decision here is done, we can change this manually, but when you download the data from SAP, the program actually picks this up automatically. It does that from the portal options on the analytics tab, which is hiding here. So there you can see basically when they're setting up their connection, they would tell the program what code corresponds to which type of maintenance activity. So if
is that where that's set? Okay.
Yeah. So basically now, I mean, if you look at some of these numbers here, say 102, 1, 2, and 3, and so on, if I close that and actually open one of these guys here, you'll see, for example, order type PM02. So PM02, I have told the program that that is a PM, not a failure, and you can see
it'll show as replacement there.
Yeah. So that's all there is to that, basically. The stuff at the bottom here, this actually was a request originally from GDF in Poland. They wanted to use not just the maintenance orders, but the notifications as well. So in SAP, as I understand it, when you want to trigger maintenance, there are basically two steps. You create the notification that says, we need to do this maintenance, and then you create the work order that tells people what to do, and then the notification and the PM and the maintenance order are connected to each other. But GDF had a lot of loose notifications that didn't have work orders, but they wanted to use that as failure data as well, which you can understand because maybe the guy in the field didn't raise the work order properly, but it didn't mean that the maintenance didn't happen or that the failure didn't happen. So it's still important to use that in their failure data. So you can see down here that we can also distinguish between notifications as well.
Okay, so if there's no maintenance order, but there's still a notification, they can still include that in the...
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
So that includes maybe just one day they download some data and it so happens that a notification has been raised, but they're in the window between that happening and the work order being generated, so they can take account of that too. So once you've got that data, it's the same as the old portal. You click calculate time to failure, generates the numbers, and then the yellow button creates the viable data set. and that guy.
It'll create it based on what your current selection is in the SAP portal, right?
Yeah.
So if you have several different locations, or several different technical objects, you click on one of them, it will build a data set for
That's right. That's right. And you can also, to be honest, I've not tried it, but presumably what you can do is,
go up to a higher level.
Yeah, go to a higher level, or even just do a manual filter.
Oh, it's based on the filter in the grid. So if
yeah,
you
well,
filter.
Yeah, I mean, it's doing. If I undo that, let's actually give it a try. Let's say I do a filter, and I'm going to say contains, I don't know, the number, not number 1, because it'll always have that. Number 2. Apply. So that's reduced the size of our data set. Let's give it a try. And yeah, so that's reduced the size of the data set. So you can filter not just by selection, but actually manually as well.
Filter out work orders. Interesting.
Yeah, so if there's stuff in there that you think is rubbish or whatever, yeah, you can basically remove it, and before you even get to the viable module.
No, this might be probably irrelevant, but in the viable module, you can set a data point as disabled.
Yes.
Is there a way to do that pre-import? Like, can you set them disabled in the SAP portal and then have it automatically come that way, or would you always just do that after you?
I think that has to be done afterwards. Let me just have a quick look at some of the stuff that's in analytics. So, yeah,
I didn't see any options for that. It seems kind of.
I think it's going to be something you would either do after, or as we saw there, if there's data.
You just filter it out, right?
I mean, yeah, that's right. But I mean, I think with the disable data points, I guess you would usually do that once the data is already in viable, because that's when you'll be able to see if there were clear outliers that are just rubbish. So,
right. Yeah.
So yeah, that's the creation of the data from availability in Availability Workbench. So most of the rest of the stuff, when you're actually downloading from SAP, is just filtering. So on the first tab, it's basically, when you look in SAP PM, you're filtering by plant. So I guess you could be looking at different sites in that respect, and that's what you're filtering on here. Unit conversion. So obviously, if you just tell the program what unit you're using in AWB, usually hours, and then whatever's being used in SAP, it will convert. Download options, just in case you don't want to download everything.
Right.
Then some other more subtle stuff, which I've not really used much of this before. It's just like little.
Little
yeah,
finicky options for
that's right.
Finicky people.
Exactly. So when we say finicky people, I guess we mean the SAP administrator. Usually when I demo this, I often say, well, with this sort of stuff, usually the admin's going to know what needs to be done here. And I've never had anybody come to me and ask, what do these do? I guess they put this in front of the guy who actually knows what all this means.
Click the question mark on the title bar if you're not quite sure what it does, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure it's useful to point to that a lot of the time. But yes, some of these are explained, not in great detail, to be fair. But I think the problem there is then you're basically reproducing the SAP manual, and it will probably take up more space on your hard drive than Availability Workbench does.
Right.
So in the download filters, again, I mean, some of this is quite straightforward, actually. The material types refer to the type of spares you're dealing with. Functional location
categories. You don't download all million types of spares, right?
Exactly, yeah. This one is useful. It's actually one that refers to your analytics in a sense, because you might have a specific window in time that you want to download your failure history from. So you can tell the program what dates to work between. Now the advanced filters are pretty cool, because what they let the user do, basically, if there is some really niche filter that they need and it's not there, they can basically enter the name of the specific SAP field they want to filter on and then create that filter themselves. So if they know the field they're working with.
I think I saw that for a particular user who wanted to filter. The trouble we had is knowing what the fields were called. They weren't even sure what the fields were called in SAP because they're not intuitively named.
No. Yeah, I mean, there is that internal document that I pointed to as well, which gives you some idea where that is, yeah. More download options. This is upload options. I might come back to that actually for the upload. Okay. Then what I'll do then is I'll open up the completed version. So this is basically just the completed version of that data that's been transferred to RCM cost, and
it's been optimized and everything, right?
Yeah, I've added a few bits of data that don't come up in SAP itself. So things like effect costs don't come from SAP. You will get unit costs for the spares, that will be there. But little things like if you wanted to add labor costs, for example, or the cost of doing a particular maintenance plan.
Right.
But that I've put that in the PDF file, and none of it's particularly in depth. I've not added loads of stuff. It's just like a couple of little things that I've said. You can add this to get a bit better picture for your optimization. So I optimized the existing maintenance plan, and then I did a different one where I said, well, hypothetically, what if I did an inspection instead, and optimized that? And then you can see at the bottom there, I'm just using grid and plot so I can see the cost-benefit ratio of the two plans side by side. So then what I can do is if I go back then to SAP, and I build, in this case all I did was build the maintenance plans. That transfers both the new maintenance plan and any changes that I've made to the existing plan back to the portal. So for example, I think I updated the maintenance plan cycle, basically the interval for the existing plan. Don't be alarmed if the number you see here isn't exactly the same as what's shown in AWB. I don't know if you know already, but basically SAP will only accept intervals in multiples of 24 hours. So if it's not a multiple of 24 hours, it will round up or down. So then, yeah, the rest of it's pretty much the same.
How did we get back here? Did you already click the uploads?
Yes. So basically, I would have come back to SAP, and then in this case, I have just kept the same data from before, but clicked build maintenance plan in the portal.
So build master data, which does that? That takes the other stuff, the locations and things.
So technical objects, catalog profiles and stuff, the effects and so on.
Okay. Build maintenance plans is for the maintenance plans, obviously.
So I might decide, I've also brought across this new maintenance plan, and when I've done that, the program has also built a new task list containing the operations I need, which are the inspections that I've set up. And you can see there the work has come across, the duration, and so on. So I can then simply upload that to SAP from here, or I can do it from the SAP upload menu as well. Now,
right, so that just builds it in the portal, and then you still have to manually upload it to it.
Yeah, so what I've done, so this button builds it in the portal, then either I can, highlight one or more of my task groups, go to SAP upload, and then upload maintenance plans, or I can actually open the maintenance plan, do what I'm going to do, and then upload to SAP. In the case of so for example, if this maintenance plan is replacing this one, there's also an option to set deletion flag in SAP or deactivate in SAP. So basically you can tell SAP this plan is no longer relevant. You can't actually delete it, but you can flag it for deletion in SAP.
Okay.
So the actual upload of maintenance plans to SAP can be a bit tricky. Not in so much as it's a difficult process, but more in the sense that there's a lot of options there to work with. So that's on the upload options, and it's mostly on the right-hand side here. The key one is this one at the top. That's telling the program how to group the tasks together into operations. So the most common one is going to be the one that's selected, single operation for each task. So each task you've created in RCM cost will be an operation in a task list in SAP. What you can also do is group tasks in different ways. For example, you might just want to group all of them into one operation, or you might want to group them by a labor category. So if you've got two tasks in a group, in a maintenance plan performed by a technician and two performed by an engineer, then they will be condensed into two operations by the two different types of work that are taking place. So you can see the way those are all done. You can also do it manually. I've not actually tried that one. That's quite a recent option. But this is going to be, I think, the big one. After that, a lot of this is documentation, whether or not you want to generate and attach things like PRT documents and what's the word, like basically a maintenance plan report. I think that's basically what the PRT document is. The numbering system and so on. The problem, I find it difficult to use these sometimes because our test system is so cluttered that a lot of the times it will reject what we're sending to it because somebody else has gone in afterwards and changed something, and so then it can be problematic. But in somebody's production system, all this stuff should work fine, and they would just again set it up to reflect the policies they have for building maintenance plans in SAP. And there are some upload defaults. Again, a lot of this stuff is kind of going to be up to the administrator how he wants to do it. So I don't recognize all of these myself. So order for PM type, order for inspections. These, again, this doesn't refer to the work orders in SAP. This now refers to the tasks in the task list. So when you upload a task list with your maintenance plan, it will know to tell. So if you've downloaded, say, an inspection from RCM cost, like we've done with this maintenance plan here, the program will say that the operation is of type PM02. And so when it goes up to SAP, SAP will say, okay, that's PM02, that must be an inspection. So that's what's happening with that one.
So that's similar to on the analytics tab where you set the maintenance order types there. Basically,
it's the same sort of thing. Yeah.
It's in the reverse. It's just how it sets them when it creates them or in SAP.
Yeah, that's right. Then your SAP connection options are at the end. You've got single sign-on, which is basically, I guess, like Windows authentication for SAP, pretty much. If they want to use web services, they can set that up here. The rest of it's just the usual SAP connection. And then I think that's pretty much everything. So were there any things specifically that you wanted to take a look at or talk about?
Maybe. There were some things I was thinking of along the way, but it slipped as we were going through it. But that does give that does fill in a lot of holes in my knowledge. One thing I was going to ask: when you're giving training on this, do you have slides, or do you just jump right in and show it functionally how it works?
I've only ever done this training course once, and I did it. It was actually kind of informal anyway because of the way the training had been set up. It was the guys that went to see in Qatar not too long ago. So as yet, I don't know the optimal way to do this. I don't have slides because I don't think that would be terribly useful anyway. I think this is something people have to get hands-on with.
Yeah.
So I guess depending on how much time you have, I might consider actually walking through it with them. Just go one step at a time, tell them what's happening at each stage.
Sure.
But then, the actual PDF document, just print that out and put it in the back of their folder, so they've got that for future reference.
Right. Okay.
And hopefully at each stage they'll have their questions about what each thing is and what it does. If they're all accustomed to working in the SAP GUI, it's worth pointing out to them that in this version of the portal, Richard has basically tried to make everything look like it does in SAP. So if you've ever looked in the SAP GUI at the properties of an equipment, it's pretty much laid out like this. Same goes for the maintenance plans. It's probably most obvious with the maintenance plans that we've done this, that this information appears at the top of a maintenance plan in the SAP GUI. You can cycle to the item and the object list in exactly the same way. So so this shouldn't be too unfamiliar to them if they just double click on things to look at their properties.
So most of this data, I'm assuming, is not actually used in AWB. Like you go to the additional data and there's a sort fields and authorization groups, maintenance plans. That's just all, a lot of this is just notes fields that are for SAP, right?
That's right. So I think that stuff has been included on at the behest of a lot of customers, and I think it's useful for them from a sort of housekeeping point of view. So they can look at things and identify them by various little codes that we ordinarily wouldn't use, but might be useful for them. The other thing that I've been pushing with regards to the new SAP portal is now that the data from SAP is actually in the project file itself and not in a separate image file, you can access it with reports.
That's right, yeah.
So I might even be able to show a bit of that, assuming I've
and we have built-in reports now with AWB3.
We do have a couple of built-in ones. I've actually made up a couple myself as well, which I thought people might find useful. I'll try and find our rubbishy example project. Then reports, and then I've called them SAP KPIs because that tends to be quite evocative for customers. They love their KPIs. Right, I can never remember which ones actually work. I'm not going to open the order header one. I did that as a technical exercise and it takes forever to populate. Let's try that one. So that, obviously this works better when you've got more than one effect in your project, but that's going to basically show you your effects and then their costs as a pie chart. I don't know if this one works better yet. So this one is cost versus maintenance order type for a selected equipment. One of the things I've asked if Richard can do, and I think he's looking into it, is make the selected equipment into an accessible field in the project database. At the moment, this filter is done manually in the report's properties, so I would have to tell the program what equipment to look at. What I'd like to be able to do is just highlight an equipment or check a box next to the equipment and then refresh the report and have it update. So I think stuff like this is going to be really useful. But yeah, this to me is one of the really big, I guess not the biggest, but one of the bigger coups that we have in having the SAP data as it is now, is that you can make reports out of it. And so when people use the dreaded KPI word, we do actually have something we can show them. I mean, it's never it's never going to be your asset management system like say Bentley and ARMS provide, but for users who don't have that sort of thing or aren't interested in using one of those, this is a nice window on that data as well.
Right. Okay. Sure. So I think I got it.
Yeah, well, I'm not in tomorrow, but I'm in Thursday, Friday, and all the following week before I go away. So if like, but when's your training with Newmont? Is that next week or the week after?
It's next week, Wednesday, Thursday next week.
Okay, well, yeah, if you've got any more questions or you want to set up another meeting before then, I'm in on Thursday and Friday, so we can.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll just practice this on my own at home before I go to make sure I can.
Yeah.
While you were presenting, I was grabbing your example directory.
Oh, okay.
From
Yes.
From ISOSYS, so I could play with it myself.
Okay. Well, also, if you find any mistakes in it, I've proofread it a couple of times myself, but there's always more mistakes to find. So just let me know.
Sure. Okay.
Right. I'll stop the recording then, and I'll send you the a link just to download that video.